You have to get in the space with other entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
because I feel like you said, just with anything, it's an infant stage. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know. You're at ABC, but you don't know DEF yet. You
Right.
don't know 4, 5, 6 yet. I'm surrounding myself with women who are accomplished, who are
Mm-hmm.
doing it, who say, hey, if you have questions, I'm here to help you, because we're all in the same field and we all know the technical parts of what we need to accomplish it. I think that surrounding yourself with those people who are doing it and working it
Yeah.
is going to help you feel more confident that you can do it, and they help you to get those things done that you didn't know.
Welcome back to the She Inspires podcast. I'm so excited for this topic today. We have a very special guest. I'm your host, Dr. Jade. I'm a board certified family medicine physician, wellness and weight loss specialist, owner of the membership medical practice Inspire Primary Care, and we have got a great topic today. Today, we're talking about something called power in the pivot. Power in the pivot. Hang on with us if you're like, what is that? Hang with us because I have a very special guest today, an award winning journalist, okay, for over 12 years, who has been in the Las Vegas area for about 5 years and is just an incredible person who is having an exciting pivot that we'll talk more about. Welcome to the She Inspire podcast, Renee Summerour.
Yay.
Welcome.
Hi, how are you, Dr.
I'm
Jade?
doing good. I'm so excited to have you and have this conversation because I've talked to so many women who are going through pivots or have been thinking about transitioning from the 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship, or they're scared to, or they're doing it, but it's just not, they don't hear enough stories about what this looks like. And I've just been so inspired by your story and your journey. And I want us to talk more about it. And thank you for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you.
So first, introduce to the She Inspires fam. I know we'll get to what you're doing now, but share with us who you are and what you did and some of your background.
Yeah. So again, my name is Renee Summerour. I've been a journalist for 12 years now. I've worked for broadcast companies like NBC, ABC, Fox Local. I was an MMJ, which is a multimedia journalist. So I shoot, write, and edit all of my own stories. I've also produced. I've also been on the technical side with directing and camera work. And as of recently, really got into creating content and just really immersing myself in the Las Vegas culture. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I grew up mostly in San Diego. So we come to Las Vegas a lot. But now that I live here as a resident for, like you said, almost 5 years now, it's a complete different point of view. I love living here. I love doing news here. I love the stories that come out of here. And although some of them might be a little on the crazy side, there are so many inspirational people here whose stories deserve to be told, so that we can enrich our community. So that's my goal. That's been my goal since I've moved here, and I've been loving it so far. So
We're blessed to have you. I'm
yeah.
excited that you're from here. I say I'm from Vegas. Y'all, I'm from Vegas, but I was born in Chicago. We moved here when I was 8, and so Vegas is home. So when I
Right.
see other people move to Las Vegas and really make it feel like home for them too, it just really enriches everything because
Yeah.
people like to say, oh, Vegas doesn't have culture. But when people from Jersey and San Diego, they transition in and they bring the flavor from other places, I just love what a melting pot Vegas is. So we're excited to have you,
Thank
and all that
you.
you're doing in the community has been amazing. So let's get right into it, okay? I want to know about your journey in journalism. How did that happen? Okay, I know nothing but medicine. All
Mm.
right, so I'm like, what? What do you major in? How do you become a journalist? My only vantage point is being Mary Jane of like what a newscaster
Yeah.
might look like. So tell us about that journey. Like being a woman of color on the camera is very inspirational. So how did that happen?
Well, my journey started kind of late. I actually went to school for marketing, for business marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and graduating in 2009 was no easy feat. The
Mm-hmm.
economy was really bad, and marketing looked a lot different than it does now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of the hundreds of thousands of millennials that after college tried my best, but ended up moving back home, went back to waitressing, and a guy that I had been kind of dating at the time was telling me, yeah, I used to do, TV and radio back in the day, and I'm thinking about getting into that. And, you have a really good voice, and you should try that. And I was like, I don't know, I have to go back to school. And he's like, no, you would be really good, really good. And so I was like, okay, let me see. So I went to my community college, and they had an outstanding program for MMJs and journalists in the making. And so I decided to go there just to get my feet wet, just to see what it would be like. I told the director, listen, I don't want to take any 100 classes. I don't want to take the history of journalism or radio.
Right.
I want to get some hands-on experience. I already have my degree. I just need a little bit more skill. And so once I started diving into like documentary production and radio, I really started to like the creativity behind it. So I did radio for 2 years. I worked in San Diego for Magic 92.5. I did the Quiet Storm, and just kind of worked my way in the radio circuit for a long time. But my teachers were like, okay, that's cute, but you're done with that. Like, we need to see you.
Yeah.
You're not a behind the scenes kind of person. And at that time, radio, there was really not a big thing in podcasting and videos and YouTube. And so I said, okay, I'll try my best to see what I can do. And so then I started taking broadcasting classes, and that's when I really started to realize that, I have the technical skills that I didn't know I had, and I have the people skills, which I've always had, but always got in trouble for. I talk too much in class. So that was that. But utilizing my talking skills, I didn't know that would be something that could pay off. So after, a semester or two, I got my first job in San Diego helping to build a television station. And so I anchored, I produced, I was a PA. I really got the feel of what it was like to create a news station. And after that, I decided, it's time to move on and really get that hands-on experience, even though that was a really great experience. So I ended up moving to Yuma, Arizona. Population at the time, maybe 90,000, but that's when I really started to learn how to be a journalist, and editing and producing and just being live on air, knowing that people are watching you and that you are now their credible source of information. So it was exciting. I was the oldest person in my newsroom because I didn't start after college. So that seemed to be kind of the challenge for me, is how do I elevate in this career, knowing that I am supposed to be kind of a step one or step two up from my coworkers, but also we're all learning just the same. And I picked up a lot of stuff very quickly and really just found a passion in journalism. I would say, like, some of the challenges for me being a Black woman, a lot of it has to do with appearance, how you look, how your hair looks, is curly hair professional or not, are subject matters important. Subject matters that may be important to me may not be important to our viewers.
Right.
And so there was, a lot of pushback on stories that I felt like were important for the community. And also just trying to navigate that space of criticism from the audience. There's trolls everywhere. Someone always has something to say about how you look, how your hair, how your clothes fit your body. As Black women, we are curvy and voluptuous. And if you are too curvy or too voluptuous, that can turn off some of those viewers who aren't used to seeing diverse women on air. So those were just some of the challenges. And as of recently, now getting out of the industry, I think a lot of people have to understand that, journalism, just like most industries, is a corporate environment. And so corporate environments aren't necessarily going to treat you the way that you deserve to be treated, whether that be given a raise or just, the materials and just everything you need to be the best journalist is not always going to be provided to you, especially if you are Black and brown. The landscape is a microcosm of what this world is, essentially. So there were some challenges and still are, but the core of being a journalist is, being that source of information, being that source that people can turn to for advice, for stories that are a reflection of them and could help them in the future.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. And thank you for sharing the challenges because, obviously in medicine, there are
Yeah.
many challenges. Race in medicine is an important topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about,
Hmm.
but it's important. There were certain rooms in the hospital where they would tell me, we need you to skip over room number this because they don't want any black doctors or students. And, just the things, or, oh, you have braids today. Why do you have braids? I thought you had
Mm,
all these different microaggressions that you have to deal with. And I can only imagine what that would be like being on camera in a space that may not be as diverse and welcoming to diversity. So,
yeah.
how did you overcome some of those setbacks? Because for me, I was like, well, as a student, I had to just suppress it. And I had to be like, okay, you have to get to the finish line, just get to the finish line. And, don't overstep or don't really say what you're really thinking, or because they could be making the decisions
Right.
for if you pass and if
Right.
you get to the next level. And then now when I was done, I was like, done with this. It's time to open my own practice because I'm not
Absolutely.
dealing with this anymore, in addition to a lot of other reasons, right? But so what for you were you like, you know what, this is how I overcome the challenge?
I just did it.
Yeah.
If I wanted to wear my hair curly, it was curly. If I wanted braids, I'm putting in braids. I'm
Mm-hmm.
installing braids. I never asked because it's a part of who I am. It's a part of, our culture as
Yeah.
black people. And that shouldn't be something I have to ask permission to be.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for me, the managers and the news directors that I worked with never questioned it because they were more so worried about my skill level. They didn't really care about how I looked. I
Awesome.
think I got more pushback from viewers,
Ah.
more pushback from people in these communities like Yuma, Waco. And not to say that the viewers are bad people,
Mm-hmm.
but you have people out there who still are not accustomed to diversity. And
Yeah.
so, you have a lot of other black journalists out there who are spearheading being a vocal person in the community when it comes to things like the Crown Act, and
Yes.
protecting those for wearing natural styles in the workplace and it being accepted. And so there are so many journalists out there in their states that are fighting this because
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a rule or a privilege or, it's our right to present ourselves the way we choose to present ourselves on air, and it shouldn't be looked as unprofessional or unkept.
Yeah.
So it's more so a challenge that the people of the world have to accept,
Yeah.
and I think that the industry is being more accepting now
Yeah.
of the talent. And there's a lot of stations out there in like the Midwest and different places who the diversity is not there
Mm-hmm.
because it's a reflection of the community.
Yeah.
So even though the industry is changing, a lot of those markets are trying to hire black and brown people because they need to reflect their community, and you
Yes.
haven't really seen that in a lot of markets. So it's happening
Yeah. It's
slowly but
slow.
surely. It's happening.
Yes.
But I just tell people, be your authentic self. That's why they hired you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you share this because clearly when I share things, it's through a medical lens. But it's very nice when what I love about these stories is for people to feel like they're not alone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're in real estate or if you're in whatever other industry, you may have these experiences or you may not. And that's okay too. But if you do, you're not alone. And I think it can just be helpful. Sometimes you're like, is it just me? So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the pivot. Okay. So, all right, we've got our journey through journalism and
Mm.
it's been amazing. So, what was the thing that got you to the point where you're like, I need to make a change? There's a pivot that needs to happen.
I think after being out here for a long time and just, I'm always counseling the younger journalists that are coming up what they should expect. And I think a lot of people expect, like, oh, well, my mom and my grandmother said I should be on TV and they think I'm pretty and all this stuff. But, when they don't realize how much you're moving around a lot, at least
Mm-hmm.
every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
You're moving to a different state.
Mm.
You're away from family and friends, and just, we all know the struggle of moving to a new place,
Yeah.
whether it's getting used to work, your new schedule, finding friends, finding support.
Mm-hmm.
And so moving here, I didn't know if I was going to have that same issue, and I didn't. I found my community right away,
Awesome.
and it was amazing. But I think after such a long time of being in the industry and kind of feeling like I'm not getting paid what I'm worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the work I've put in, because this
Yeah.
industry already, you don't get paid
Yeah.
as you should.
Okay.
And so, when you're working someplace and, like I said, certain things aren't given to you to help you do your job better. You may be working at a place for years and years and years and may have seen one raise, maybe none.
Right.
And it just got to a point where I felt like I wasn't growing. I felt like, in the midst of moving here and realizing I have all these other talents with, content creating and working with brands and working with local businesses here, that wasn't something that necessarily aligned with the corporate organization I was working for.
Yeah.
And we're in a different time. People want to feel like they can relate to the person that they're spending time watching or getting information from. And a lot of these news organizations still operate in a kind of an old-fashioned mentality. Because they're worried about their reputation and their credibility as a company. And so when they see certain things that are a little too hip or too millennial or too TikTok, right? Too new age, they start to put in those restrictions. And I felt like at my age, at this point in my career, I'm done with the restrictions.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was time to move on and put myself first in the way that I'm able to create the content, still be a credible source of information because I have a following outside of all of the organizations that I've worked for.
Yeah.
And it's hard, right? But it's freeing. It feels really good to do something for me and recognize that the right people are going to see it. The right people are cheer for me and going to support me because I'm more than just the place that I work for.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. So what are some of the projects you're going to be working on in this new season now that you're transitioning into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, well, I have started a podcast. It's called Summerour Vegas. It's a play on my last name. A lot of people, you were asking me about how to pronounce my last name. And I think a lot of people, once they see it, they realize, oh, okay, it looks just how it sounds. And throughout the years, my family and I have used our last name for a number of things and businesses and products because a lot of companies actually use Summer for a lot of stuff. So Summerour Vegas is a play on some of our Vegas because I really want to spotlight the culture here that we were talking about earlier and the fact that so many people are moving here from so many places and they're trying to find that culture that they're missing from back home. And so I really wanted to create a space for that and interview people who are business owners, doctors, lawyers, politicians, influencers that don't get the notoriety that they should as well, because just like everything else, Black influencers aren't making the same money, aren't getting the same exposure. Business owners, movers and shakers, hustlers, like a lot of those people don't have a platform to showcase what they are doing and what services they're providing to the community. And so I thought Summerour Vegas was the perfect forum for that. And also, shout out to you and I, there are not a lot, if any, Black female podcasters here in Las Vegas. And so I thought that after all these years, this was something that I've wanted to do, but just couldn't do it because I was tied to another organization. So the podcast is really just my baby.
Excited.
I'm on YouTube, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Podbean, I'm on Apple Podcasts. And it's just been a really freeing experience. And don't get me wrong, it's still hard, okay? We're not monetizing yet. But I have a very supportive partner who saw the vision and just like you, just got down to it, got to the grind, utilized my producing skills, utilized my news skills. And so far, it's been really good. So
what I love about what you just said is you're utilizing the skills that you've used for other people in your new journey of entrepreneurship. I was talking to a girlfriend recently and she was like, I was telling her, girl, we got to get your LLC. We got to get your business going because she does lots of speaking. I'm like, that should be through your LLC. And she's like, I just don't know how to run a business. I'm like, you're already doing it. You're just doing it for someone else. Now we're going to just put it so you have an organization for yourself. And so it's really those skills we've accumulated along the way. Like when I was a child, I used to do poetry competitions in Chicago. My grandmother would enroll me and I would do Still I Rise and Phenomenal woman everywhere. But the training for that as a child now translates to speaking on podcasts, speaking in front of people on stages. But it's those little things we use along the way. And it's like, these are our gifts.
Yeah.
We're literally just using our gifts. So I love that you're using your gift.
And, I think about those times when I was working in those smaller markets, and there'd be days where I'd just sit in the car and cry because it's hard sometimes. You're coming into work. I mean, your day revolves around working for someone else, right? And so I think for me, getting into the entrepreneurial space has been very scary because I'm used to a schedule, I'm used to structure.
Yes.
And my fiance, he works in real estate, and that is an entrepreneurial hustle.
Yes.
If you're not selling, you're not making money. And so it would be really easy for me to kind of counsel him on how to organize his day because that's what I'm used to. But now, I look at him and I'm just like, mad respect because
it's a different beast.
It's different. And he always is like, no, you help me, structure my day and knowing like, okay, when I get up between this time and did it because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to getting in and getting into the meeting, deadlines, making sure my packages are done before the 5, 6, and 9, but that wasn't something he was used to. So now that I can help him with that, reverse.
Yes,
now he helps me with that. And, even though I know how to structure my day, structuring the material I need to make sure that my podcast is successful. And just all those other things like going to the gym, waking up, not slacking on waking up early like I used to. I don't wake up at 3 a.m. anymore, but I'm still getting up early. I'm still, going to the gym. Okay, what do I have to do today? Just really structuring my day for me and what I'm doing for myself and not so much structuring my day around work like I used to, my 9 to 5. So
this makes me think of a question, and that's really the mindset shifts because there's a different mindset we have as an employee versus as an entrepreneur. And if you are doing both or one or the other and you haven't had specific mindset shifts, there are some ones that need to happen. I've had several. But what have you noticed in this season where it's all new and fresh that you're like, I need to shift my mindset in these areas because it doesn't operate like this now that I'm an entrepreneur outside of scheduling?
Yeah, for, us women who are used to working and not sitting down and all those things. I've been working since I was 16. I feel like nonstop. I've never not had a job. I've never not knew where I was going next. And so this was like a really scary situation for me.
Yes.
Having to rely on somebody else to help pick up some of the weight that I'm not. And, mentally, it can get depressing, and so not even so much as like scheduling my day, but also like changing my mindset. And so a friend of mine, shout out to Ashley because she helped me out a lot. She gave me a 5-minute journal for my birthday. And I'm not really a journaler or anything like that, but she was like, this is going to help shift your mindset because it's really easy to get down on yourself and think about the things that aren't going right. And so when I wake up every morning, before I go to the gym, I crack open that journal. And the first question it asks is, what are you grateful for?
I love that.
And so, what are you grateful for? What would make today great? And then at the end, what are the highlights of your day, daily affirmation, and what did you learn?
Love it.
And I think just that quick jot down every day, it helped to train my mindset to think more positively, all the good things that are happening. Because it's very easy after a long career and then just an abrupt stop to think about all the things that went wrong. And, we know this job search market is hard, getting back into that grind of finding a job. Then you have to find a job that's paying you what you were getting or more. When you're finding out that sometimes that job transition, you may have to start over in the way that, okay, you were making this much, but you might have to take a $20,000 or $30,000 pay cut so that you can kind of start from the beginning in another sector.
Right.
and move on from there. And I think that is it can be an ego crush. It can be, it's not the most motivating feeling, but just those little things that help my mental health really help to say, okay, you know what? Writing it down every day. I can do this. Keep going.
Yes.
What are your highlights? Don't think about the bad stuff. Think about even just the little things. I woke up this morning. I'm blessed to have my family. I'm
Yes.
blessed to have a home. These are things that, are simple to me, but I'm thinking about all the wrong things.
Yeah.
And so kind of getting back into gratitude
Yes.
has helped, because now it's like you have all the tools, you have everything you need. Now it's just time for you to believe in that and not so much lean on something else to keep you upright.
Yeah.
You have to keep yourself upright.
And it's really a rebirth. Like, it's really shedding and releasing the chapter that you're coming out of and embracing. And each time you have a rebirth, you're an infant again.
Right.
Like, wow, this is a new version of me. I don't
Right.
know this version of me. And I just want to share with you. So I'm 2 years into my entrepreneurship journey now, right? And what I'm learning, I'm glad you're getting into gratitude in this stage, because I'm just now getting into gratitude and a gratitude box at my house and having a top 3 things I'm grateful for that I do each morning. And what I've noticed, though, is every level has a rebirth. And so where I'm coming out of this honeymoon phase of my business, where it was like, okay, we're jumping out on faith.
Right.
I'm trusting God. Okay, it's building. And then it's like another rebirth of like, oh, this is actually catching on. Now I need to live up to what I promised I'm going to do. And now where I'm at, now that we're 2 years in and it's been a blessing of a business, is oh my God, now I'm thinking about scaling, and
Right.
that's stressful and can be discouraging. And so at every level, that gratitude is going to be needed.
And you notice too that even when you're doubting yourself, there's double the people who have all the faith in you.
Yes.
And that's something, again, that you kind of just skip over because
Yeah.
you're in your own head about, is this going to be good enough? Am I going to be good enough? How do I transition? I don't have
Yeah.
these skills, or I do have these skills, but I don't know if it's going to translate. And so, I've just been kind of feeding my soul with the belief that others have in me,
Yeah.
and just with those simple gratitudes every day that I'm writing down, that I'm reflecting on. And what me and my fiance like to do is every Sunday we do like a check-in with each
Good.
other. And he has a journal, I have a journal, and we basically go over each other's journals throughout the week and just really kind of take in, what the other person is working on, what things they're looking forward to, anything that they've learned about themselves, ourselves throughout the week. And so I think just overall that kind of method, especially if you're in a relationship, can just kind of help, so you can see where the other person is mentally, and vice versa. So you kind of know how to support your partner throughout the coming
Absolutely.
week. And so just those little tweaks in my everyday, which I wasn't doing before when I had a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
just kind of help boost my mental health. So that way I do believe that I can do this, and that I do have the skills to do this. And I also have help, and I have people rooting for me and championing me, to do this. So it helps, because now it's like, okay, people believe that I'm more than just who I work for. They believe in
Absolutely.
like who I am and the skills that I have. So once you kind of
Absolutely.
flip that mentality a little bit in your transition, and that's not to say don't feel it, right? Don't feel the hard times, don't feel the sadness, don't feel the self-doubt, but a friend of mine said, once you feel it, get over it.
Yeah.
Get over it and really start putting your energy towards, what you can do.
Yeah.
And the people who support you will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what advice would you give to someone who's listening that's like, man, I'm in a 9 to 5 and I've been thinking about entrepreneurship, but I've never done this. I don't have any business background. I don't have like all the things, right? I'm not qualified. What advice would you give them?
You have to get in the space with other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you said, just with anything, it's an infant stage. You don't know. You're at ABC, but you don't know DEF yet.
Right.
You don't know 4, 5, 6 yet.
Yes.
And so for me, again, my partner has really helped to keep that drive in me, because he knows what it's like to feel like you failed at something and you got to move on to something else. How do you do that?
Yeah.
And so he has surrounded himself with a team that, is going to help him when he needs help, who's going to be there when he needs to crunch the numbers. So same thing with me. Like, I'm surrounding myself with women who are accomplished, who are doing it, who say, hey, if you have questions, I'm here to help you. There's also been a lot of women within the journalism, field that are close friends of mine and who are really doing well in their careers, who have also started side hustles or nonprofits or podcasts themselves. And, because we're all in the same field and we all know the technical parts and what we need to accomplish it, I think that surrounding yourself with those people who are doing it and working it is going to help you feel more confident that you can do it. And they help you to get those things done that you didn't know.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who used to work in journalism, she is now a real estate agent herself. We went to a convention while she was in town, and I'm listening to the convention, but I'm still kind of, thinking about, okay, like, it's my podcast is going to premiere next week. What am I going to do? And she said, oh, have you ever heard of this, website? And I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, it'll take all your videos and it'll cut them up into all these things with you don't have to do anything. Now, in my mind, I have to cut the video. I have to edit it. I have to do this. I have to put the captions on it. There's so much and I have to do that myself.
Right.
Like, I don't have a team, but her leveraging that knowledge to me, oh my gosh, like
one comment.
One thing,
yes.
And it's made my life so much easier with creating the social content I need for the podcast.
Yes.
And so, is this someone that I hang out with all the time? No, but she knows what it's like to be in the field. She knows what type of content we need, whether it's for a podcast or for news or whatever. And just, again, being around those people who have those tidbits of information that you need, that you just thought, I don't know how I'm going to get the help for this. She was there.
Yeah.
And she streamlined everything that I needed for my social media. And so, like I said, I just encourage you to get around those people that know how to do what you're trying to work towards.
Yeah.
Because you're not alone.
Community is so important.
You're not alone.
Yes.
So many people are trying to start something just like you. But instead of grouping yourself in with those people who all don't know what they're doing, it's time to start getting out and networking with women who are already doing it.
Yeah.
And then you can share the help that you need with them. And so many people are willing to help any way they can because they needed the same help.
Yeah, it's the collaboration, and who you surround yourself with is so important. I remember when I first started entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, I'm an introvert. I don't like networking. Girl, I went to an event yesterday and I was like, yes, I'm in a room full of people who are my ideal client. I have something that could really help them and solve a problem for them. Like, let me get to know you. What do you do? Can we share resources? Is there something I have that I can give you a shortcut on, and vice versa? Like, I get so excited now because it's not selling people stuff. It's really like utilizing a gift that they may really need or know somebody who really needs. And so it's so fun.
And that's funny because now that I'm not in like a structured news environment, it's hard to talk to people, which is weird because that's my job is to talk to people. So now it's like, I'm not on this time crunch. I'm not like, they don't know I'm coming. So it's a different feeling going into those environments and being like, yeah, I have a podcast. Yeah, sure. Do you want to follow? Oh yeah, please. It's like, now it's like, okay, you're doing this for you. So you need to take every opportunity to network with people, to tell people what you got going on. And like I said, I'm just so grateful that there's so many people here that believe in me.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I don't even have to say anything. They introduce me. They let them know what I got going on. And I'm just sitting back like, y'all really mess with me, huh?
Yes.
Y'all really like me for real, huh?
When we talk to you a year from now, you are going to be like, I remember when I used to walk in and people used to introduce me. I used to be that. I used to be the one I would be introduced. Oh, this is Dr. Jade. This is Dr. Jade. Now I'm like, hi. And it's just so fun because it's like, I have something that could really help, that I really believe in, that I've seen transform lives. Like, why would I keep that a secret?
Right.
And it's okay if it's not for you, but I want to get to know what other people are doing too, so that I can be the connect. Like, if I know the best painter in town, my patients are going to appreciate that.
That's
So
it.
it becomes fun. I never thought I would say I love networking, but in the right rooms, in the right spaces where it's not forced, right?
Right.
And so let's talk about social media,
Okay.
as we
I love
close,
talking about
okay?
social media.
Because what I love about socials, people often talk about things that seem like all these vanity metrics, like, oh, people just want to be seen, or people are just telling their whole life story or putting all their business out there. But I love social media for certain reasons, right? I love it for the connections I've made, for the relationships I've developed, for
Like
the
us.
people I've met. Yes. So, yeah, spoiler alert. So, we met through social media.
Through
You
the
want to tell the story?
DMs.
Yeah, through the DMs. And what's so awesome about that is I was, following you and following your journey. And I was just like, man, there's certain people you follow and you're like, they're a friend in my head. Like,
Right.
we would like each other in real life. And so I just was looking at you and I was like, yeah, she's dope. I would like her. And then when you DM'd me and you were like, hey, you want to go to lunch? I was like, perfect. Because I didn't want
Yeah.
to, I felt a little awkward at the time for me to do that because I was like, I don't want to reach out to people and they think I'm trying to sign them up for my practice,
Yeah.
And so I loved it that you reached out. And from there, how the relationship has grown. And I have just seen so many beautiful things come from social media. So what has being a content creator, I don't know, we keep switching the terms, influencer, content creator, all the things, but your socials are amazing. Tell us where they can find you, but what has that journey in being a content creator, influencer, and now doing it for yourself, where you really true have the freedom and the authenticity to not be like, oh, let me not do that because my company might not like that.
Right. So at first it was like, how can I make news fun?
Yeah.
I'm at Renee's News, RENEES News, on all my socials. And at first, when I first started this whole social media thing, it was kind of before the blow up of influencers. And so it was really about just making news fun. What do we struggle with as journalists? What are the things we're doing in the office? What are the trends that we're seeing on social media that people would be like, oh, I thought all journalists were uptight. Like, they just seem like they're having a good time. So that was kind of my thing for a long time. And then once my fiance and I started dating, I started seeing how he was utilizing social media for his business.
Yeah.
And so it made me kind of change how I was doing it. I was still doing funny journalism stuff, of course.
Yeah.
But then I really just kind of started taking clips of me as a journalist, anchoring and reporting and some of those things. And as I started to grow, I realized that, people again like seeing who I am outside of my work.
Yeah.
And so, or it's something they've always wanted to see. They always knew I was fun and laid back and down to earth, but they kind of never saw me outside of my news environment.
Right.
And I also noticed that my numbers were pretty stagnant. I wasn't posting a lot. And because I was posting a lot of kind of the same thing, it's like, okay, that's funny, but it's newsy.
Yeah.
So when I moved here and me and CB kind of started collaborating more together as a couple, exploring the landscape of Las Vegas, then I started sharing my experience as a person living in Las Vegas and what that looks like. And I think people really started to appreciate who Renee is rather than, oh, Renee, the news anchor or the news lady. And so, what I've found is that it's a blessing. When you are consistent on social media and you have a great following, you start getting approached by brands, you start getting approached by other local businesses who want you to come in, who want you to advertise their business for your viewers because they see that, okay, she has different viewers than this other, person or this other influencer.
Yeah.
And so we've just been really blessed because what that does is it opens up doors for you to explore parts of your city.
Yeah.
And you get to explore in a way that a regular customer wouldn't be able to. And so I always tell my fiance, we would be homeless out on the streets if we had to pay for everything that we were doing all the time. But because we've put time and effort into our socials and growing our digital audience, it really has helped open up doors for us to really grab Las Vegas, and just make it ours. And we've just seen a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people who, again, don't know where the culture is or don't know where to go or find that core group of people. They're seeing us live it through our content.
Yeah.
And so even in this transition time where, you know, you may not be working and you're trying to find what that passion is or whatever. It's just been, you know, our lifestyle hasn't changed that much because we're awarded those opportunities. And so, you know, take social media as, you know, this is going to be your brand. What do you
Yeah.
want people to know about you? I always, you know, tell people come up with a plan, because it's really easy to just get on social media and just post or just
Yeah.
do what everyone else is doing. But everyone is unique. Everyone has a skill, whether you think you're awkward or not pretty or not in shape or whatever. There is a lane for literally everyone, because there's
Absolutely.
millions of people just like you
Right.
who are trying to find someone that they can relate to.
Yep.
And so, you know, that's kind of the message when you come here. If you don't feel like you found your group, here it is. If you
Yeah.
don't feel like you found the food you were looking for, there you go. If you're looking
Yes.
for activities for you and your kids, there it is, you
Yeah.
know? And so I always say live and be the example, so that other people can say they've never seen it because they have you to refer to.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
if y'all, I need you to go follow her, because the social media content is so entertaining, but also it's just, first of all, I have like a notes section in my phone with like date night ideas, and half the
Yeah.
food and restaurants
Yeah.
came from you guys sharing what you do and where you've been. And I've just been really inspired. Thank you for being, first of all, a guest on the podcast,
Thank
but a
you.
woman who truly inspires. I look forward to following this new chapter for you.
Thank you.
And it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And same to you. Just
Yes.
congratulations on all of this. And,
you.
you know, the reason why I reached out to you is because, again, you know, seeing a Black woman live in her glory, seeing you with your own business, your own practice, a beautiful family, you know, I think that we don't see that enough. And so, you know, that was really just the push for me to say, I need more women like her in my life.
Yeah.
And I mean, look where we are, you
Yeah.
know, it's okay to slide in the DMs.
It is.
It's okay.
Yes, it really is. And it doesn't have to be for a date. Like, just good
No.
old, like, girl, we should go to lunch. Like, it's
Because
been
most of
amazing.
the time we need it.
Yes, yes. So thank you. You've been a blessing. I'm loving our friendship that we're growing.
Yes.
And it's just been awesome. So thank you for being on the She Inspires podcast. And thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this interview today. And make sure to follow our social media fam at Dr. Jade MD. We would love to have you there. And we'll see you on the next episode of the She Inspires podcast.